So here's what it is. Graham Cook, this British minister, he had a great saying one time that really changed my life. And he said this. He said, God's not interested in what you cannot do. He's only interested in what you're willing to do. And look, I had plenty of time where I did things and I wasn't all in, and the result that I got was not what I wanted.
It takes too much to repair the damage for you to just half-ass something.
Yeah, and I'll just butt in real quick and tell you who taught me this lesson better than anybody. That's PJ Bowen.
Mm-hmm. Salsa.
And I have a certain way that I learn things. PJ says shut up and do what you're told. Like, that's her method. But we bumped heads because I'm somebody that I need to learn. Like, I'm not questioning what it is you're doing. I'm trying to understand
why
what it
we're
is.
Doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one day, I got there, she got there. She didn't open the door. She said, let's go for a walk. And I was like, this is bad news. Because I'm fully committed. But, maybe the way that I went about it was not proper. We ended up shouting at each other. And she's like, you are a stubborn man. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And so we went back and forth there. And somehow I talked her out of firing me as a client. And it was a very valuable lesson to me because her time is extremely, extremely valuable. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Because she spent 30 years at that time of her life investing into that industry. She was the expert. I showed up because I was not, and I had problems, and I couldn't fix them on my own. The best and most effective way for me to honor her time is to do it. And if you don't do it, then there are people who are willing to do it, and you need to be fired. Welcome back to another episode of Man vs. Marriage. It is I, your humble servant, the Q Dog, a.k.a. the Q Dig-It Dog, a.k.a. Quincy Moran. And I'm joined in the Moran family studio with my lovely wife, Jeannie Moran. Jeannie, what's going on, girl?
Lots.
There is lots going on. I totally agree. Well, we're so happy that you're here. And the reason that we're happy is because you downloaded this episode for one of two reasons. Number one, you're following along and you've gone back and you've seen and listened to episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number two, this title caught your attention. So maybe that's you and you've just come in here to the program with Are You All In? That is the title of today's show. It's in a series that we're calling Where Do I Start? Which is the series of episodes that is the most downloaded that we have, period. The next set would probably have something to do with sex, and the next set after that would have something to do with communication. So
I love how that order goes.
Well, I'm not saying that's exactly the order, but I believe based on my last check-in, that's what
Where do I
like.
start? Let's have a bunch of sex and hey, let's talk too. That's important.
Sounds like a great marriage to me. So with that, if you are new to this program and you haven't heard the other episodes, I'm going to ask you to pause right here. Go download those. There are 4 episodes. Where do I start? There's a bonus episode that goes along with episode 1. And I'm going to ask you to get down deep in those episodes so that you know exactly.
Question.
What?
Well, it's episode 1 in the series, but what actual episode is it?
What episode's what?
Well, we have over, 400 episodes now?
Yeah, but those episodes precede this episode. And so it says episode 1.
Okay, I'm just making sure because generally they say episode 3, whatever. 300 and whatever, and I wanted to make sure you didn't like. It's episode 409, but for this series, it's episode. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna. Sorry, it caught my attention. It would have
It's
been one
not
of
a
those
problem.
things.
That's how. Listen,
That's where I would have got caught up.
You podcast listeners, you guys that are longtime podcast listeners, Jeannie just showed you that she's not even close to being in our realm, because we know what this means.
You are so lucky that people can see your face on YouTube, because those that listen to you and can't see your face would think you were an ultimate douche right then and there.
I disagree. But
You're not a woman.
There's like a certain brand of human being that's in the podcast area, the podcast space. So we know what this is all about. You are a magically delicious part of this podcast as far as content goes, but you are not a podcast gal. So thank you for showing that to everybody.
That was a weird way to try to make a save. I mean, I get where you're going with it, but
I'm not making a save. I'm stating facts. Do you know about podcasts?
Ask me if I care.
I didn't ask. That was not my question.
I don't know about podcasts.
Boom.
I just wondered,
let's move on.
because you're real big on the titles and making sure that if we're going to give an episode, we give the proper episode number. And it just dawned on me, you're saying episode 1 and we're in like 400 and something. That's a little wrong.
And we're not in 400 and something. We're in the 370s.
Oh, well, see? I'm just saying.
You were just saying the wrong thing, but that's okay. I digress. Actually, you digress.
Can the camera see which finger I'm pointing?
Why don't you show them? Go right ahead. You want me to show them, Brother Pete?
Yeah, you would never. It's just a finger, boy.
It's just a finger, son.
Yeah, that's what Pete said. Nope.
That's so funny. That was such a funny situation. Anyway, are you all in? Episode number, who cares? It's episode 5 in this series. And for those of you that know podcasts, you know how to figure it out. If you're Jeannie, ask her if she cares. She doesn't. But that's okay. She does know how to navigate YouTube. And so she would still be able to figure it out in some capacity. So let's talk about this. Are you all in? What brought this up? I'm going to turn it over to you. Because we were coaching a couple.
What brought what up specifically?
This particular episode, are you all in?
Got you.
Am I speaking English?
I'm just making sure I'm on the right topic, since on the last podcast we did, you said, you brought this up too soon. It was supposed to be in this episode.
Okay.
I'm making sure I'm on the notes.
All right, dear. So, Are You All In is the name of this episode. I'll tell you later what the number is so that you understand it.
Oh, you're making it worse.
I know where you went. Let's not go there now. I'll take you to that town later.
Oh, my back. Stop laughing.
I know. We are really winning today with your back and me getting over a cold and feeling like garbage. But hey, the energy is here.
Oh.
So one of the biggest things as far as where do you start, and the way that we've kind of mapped it out, is for you to understand like what you have, who do you want to be, what do you want. And the last, like that episode that like brings it all together for those first 3 episodes was very powerful, because now you know what's at stake. Whether you commit to being all in or not is the only thing that's going to help this be successful. You can't be half in, half out. You have to be all the way in order for this to work. And I just want you to talk about why it was important for us, because this was your idea. Like in the line of episodes, where do I start? Are you all in is something that you brought up. And I know it's been a while because we've been planning the shows, but I need you to talk about why being all in matters from a wife's perspective. And look, I'll talk very candidly about the couple we were coaching as well. I'm asking you to do the same. It's a Jack and a Jill. That's all that needs to be known. And I'll talk about how things changed. So just talk us through, why being all in matters. What is the gravity of that, just from your perspective as you were coaching this particular wife? Go ahead.
Well, from her side of things, we started coaching because she wanted to learn to communicate better. She wants to learn to trust more and to open herself up to make her relationships better. And because of what we knew had gone on in their marriage, I had to ask the question, are you really willing to do this? I mean, are you all in for this? Because if you're not, I'm not wasting my time. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Our time comes from a sacrifice to the family, a sacrifice to our own time and things that we need to do, business things. And if I'm going to sacrifice my time to work with you, you need to be willing to put in the full effort of what we're asking you to do. And so she said, yes, she's all in. She absolutely wants to try to repair her marriage. She wants to try to become a better person. But her primary concern is, I want to be a better version of me. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I can work with that. Generally, when you work with that, your marriage comes along with it because you start becoming better, you communicate better, and then your spouse hopefully will get on board and things will work the same. When we got into counseling with the couple, however, there was a discrepancy. One side had already threatened wanting to split, wanting divorce. There's a slew of problems that have come up.
Correct.
And a lot of them appeared to be one-sided until we got the full story. And it was like, something's not right. So when we got together, we said, okay, we asked them the same questions. Why are you here? What do you want? What does it look like? What do you expect from us?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second one, their homework was to answer a question and come back to us. And her response, I mean, she did her homework. She told us all the answers, point blank. It was great. His side was, well, I did it in my head. That's not doing your homework. And so for those who are considering coaching or working with Quincy and I, you need to understand up front. If we give you some homework to do and you don't do it, you usually get one time to fail. The second time, we're done. I'm not going to deal with anybody who is not willing to put in the work. It takes too much to repair the damage for you to just half-ass something.
Yeah, and I'll just butt in real quick and tell you who taught me this lesson better than anybody to begin this, and that's PJ Bowen.
Mm-hmm. Salsa.
And I have a certain way that I learn things. PJ says shut up and do what you're told. Like, that's her method. I didn't necessarily understand it, and I wasn't asking questions to be disrespectful. And so she was training me and not charging me. It was an incredible opportunity that I had. But we bumped heads because I'm somebody that I need to learn. Like, I'm not questioning what it is you're doing. I'm trying to understand
why
what it
we're
is.
doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we had gone back and forth, and, I was meeting her at like 5:00 in the morning. And one day, I got there, she got there, and she didn't open the door. She said, let's go for a walk. And I was like, this is bad news. Because I'm fully committed. But, maybe the way that I went about it was not proper. And it ended up us walking down the side of a main highway there in town, and her talking to me and me talking to her. And we ended up shouting at each other. And she's like, you are a stubborn man. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But I'm not questioning your authority. I'm trying to understand what this means, because that's part of me buying into it, is to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so we went back and forth there, and somehow I talked her out of firing me as a client. And it was a very valuable lesson to me, because her time is extremely, extremely valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Because she spent 30 years at that time of her life investing into that industry. She was the expert. I showed up because I was not, and I had problems, and I couldn't fix them on my own. And so the best and most effective way for me to honor her time is to do it. And if you don't do it, then there are people who are willing to do it, and you need to be fired. That between us, I think, was one of the most impactful moments in our relationship. And we have a very dear friendship. I look at her as a part of our family.
Mm-hmm.
She looks at me the same way. But she taught me an extremely valuable lesson. And so I've carried that over, even into coaching Rick, which, Rick and I were on this program and we talked about it. And I had to say some things that made me uncomfortable. And one of the things was, hey, you came to me. I didn't come to you. So do it or don't. But I don't need to put my time in here if you're not going to. And I knew sending that to Rick was going to be a challenge. And he got it. I sent the text like this. But I had to tell him that. And you're either here and you're gonna honor our time by doing it, or you're gonna listen because it's good information. You're gonna waste your time because we're doing this irregardless.
Well, so here's what ended up happening. Since there was already a previous conversation before they came to us for help, that was the husband was talking about splitting up. He's talking about, getting a divorce and going their own way. And then he came to us saying, hey, we want to do this. She's willing. Would you be willing to help us? Okay, we're willing to check it out. We'll put in the time and see where it goes. But when we got to the second session and we asked the question about the homework and he didn't do it. And then it was when we asked the question, are you all in? She said, yes. She's been all in. She's not the one asking to leave the marriage. She's not the one asking for a divorce. She's holding the line. She thinks it's reparable. It's going to take time because they both have major trust issues. And there's a lot of hurt and resentment that needs to be healed. But when we asked him, I don't think he meant to answer that honestly, but it came out and he said, well, I just, I don't know that I am. And then he went right over it and kept talking. And I went, oh, we have a problem. We have a big problem. Now, from the coaching side of things, that's a deal breaker for us. We're done. If you're not all in, we're wasting our time. From the wife's perspective, because I'm still coaching her, from the wife's perspective, you just told me that you still have one foot out the door. Mm-hmm. You just told me that no matter what I do, you're not going to put in the same effort. You're not going to meet me halfway in this. You're going to meet me a quarter of the way. And if you don't like it, you're going to take your turn and go. So what you just told your spouse is you're not worth a full effort. Now let that sink in for a second. Let's put this in a different perspective. If you're trying to become this person, we asked you, who do you want to become? Mm-hmm. Who do you want to be? If you're not all in, what's your self-worth? What's your self-value? Mm-hmm. You're not worth all the effort. You're not worth 100%. You're not worth going through the hell that you might have to go through to become that person you want to be and cause that ripple effect that you're looking for. You're not worth that. That's a question you have to answer for yourself. I don't have that answer. But that's what you need to consider when you think, well, I worked out yesterday. I don't really have to go today. Why? Why don't you have to go today? Isn't your agreement to go 5 days a week? Okay, well, go 5 days a week. Well, yeah, but I'm tired today. Okay, you were tired yesterday. Get off your ass and go. Is it worth it? Or are you going to cut corners? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. And it's really hard in some things. And I can be completely transparent and tell you, I cut corners. And I catch myself and go, crap. Not because I cut the corner, but because now I'm questioning myself. I don't trust myself in that area anymore because I let myself down. I didn't value myself enough to keep my commitment to myself. Mm-hmm. And you're not responsible for that. I am.
That's right.
So now that pattern that I created, it's back. I'm back in that same pattern of behavior. Why? Because I chose to cut a corner.
So let me just challenge you here, and maybe you're not saying this, but if you stumble and you go back to your old way once, it doesn't mean the pattern's created. It's what you do next.
Yes, but to correct the behavior, that's what I catch is this is a pattern for me. Now I'm aware. I screwed it up once, but the thing is now I'm aware that I intentionally screwed up. Mm-hmm. I made that decision. It wasn't like, it's different if I was sick that morning and I couldn't get to the gym. Mm-hmm. That's different. But me actively saying, yeah, I'm just not going to go today. I think I'm going to do this, this, and this instead. I can make it up on this end or, no, it's okay. I'll just skip it. That's an active choice. I'm aware that I am intentionally making that choice. Yeah. But I'm also aware that if I make that choice more than once, my pattern returns. So I have to question myself. Am I willing to go back to that pattern? Or am I going to adjust and pivot and go back to what I was doing? That's the difference. It's an awareness. It's the same thing with the couple. For him to say he's not all in makes her very aware. Okay, then I'm not in this for you. I'm in this for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I need to do for me. And if you catch on, cool. If not, don't expect anything. For you to not be all in and expect your spouse to do all these things that they need to change this and they need to do this and they need to do that. Why? You're not doing shit. So why should I do it? That's what you're going to get. And the issue in that particular Jack and Jill is Jack doesn't want to see that. Jack doesn't want to accept you created this back and forth that you're getting, this resistance that you're getting. You created it because you're not all in. You've already admitted it. You can't take it back. Now you've got to prove a pattern. You've got to do some work. And she's not going to accept it just a few weeks of doing good deeds. That's what we were talking about in the last episode. When you're doing something and it's to get the attaboy, you can't do it for the attaboy anymore. You didn't earn the attaboy. You've got a long road to haul to get that attaboy because you just said, I'm not in it.
Well, too, and what you're saying is very valuable and it's true. And I agree with you. And here's the thing. This particular Jack and I had some pre-con, before this began. And I asked the question very directly. Are you all in? Because if you're not all in, I'm not a good fit.
Mm-mm.
I need your integrity. I need your honesty.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer was yes. Now, the problem is that it would appear that answer was not authentic and it wasn't true, which means that he lacks integrity. So what happens when you say you're all in and you're not? I'm not trying to be mystical or anything like that, but that's the energy you bring.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not all in, then what you're bringing to this experience is something that's like, it's counterfeit. It's not authentic. It's not true. It's not going to resonate. You're ultimately doing this. And the honesty, the integrity is not there.
There's no weight to it. When you say, I'm going to do X, and then when it comes time to do it, you've already said you're not all in. I'm going to do it. I'm all in. I'm going to do it. And then we get to the process and you're like, nah. But then the next time it comes around and it's like, but I'm doing this. But you're doing it half-ass. You're not all in. Your mindset is, I'm going to do what they tell me to do or I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do for this long. Look, there is a point to goals. Okay. There are time goals for some people. I'm going to do this particular exercise series. I'll use PJ as an example. For my strength training, it was, you're going to do this specific set of exercises for the first 6 weeks, period. No changing, no deviation, no weights going up and down, just this for 6 weeks. Okay, cool. So we do that for just 6 weeks. But if I don't do it every single week for 6 weeks, when I get to the end of the 6th week, I'm not progressing. I'm not going any further because I didn't do the work I was supposed to do. I'm not ready to move forward. When you go into this scenario, if you don't do the first foundational things that have to happen, where you build trust, you build a soft place to land, a place where you can actually have a hard conversation with your spouse and not be worried about ammunition. If you don't do those things in the beginning, you're not going to go forward. When I had a session with the Jill, and she said, well, he was upset because when he called Quincy one night, he wasn't upset, he was questioning. He called Quincy one night and Quincy told him, hey, I can't talk right now. Jeannie and I are in the middle of a check-in. It's something that we do every week. It's a priority. I'll have to call you later. Immediately, well, why don't we do check-ins? And she answered for me, and she was right. We're not ready for that. Mm-hmm. You're not ready for that. You don't have the foundation to trust each other enough to have an honest, open conversation. You're still at the place of, it's your fault. Your behaviors are the reason that I did X, Y, Z. And she's still at the place of, well, if you hadn't said this thing and hurt me, I would be more amped to do X, Y, Z. And it's a back and forth situation. If one of you is all in and the other one isn't, somebody's going to lose no matter what. Somebody's going to lose. So what are you doing? My question is, why aren't you all in?
Yeah, and it's important to know when you start something and it doesn't start from a place of honesty and integrity, then whatever the system is, it's contaminated. It's already contaminated because your intention is not pure. Your motivation is not pure.
And you're living in a place of hypocrisy. You expect others to do things. Like for you in business, when you go to a client or a customer and you say, I'm going to work my butt off, I'm going to do this, this, and this for you. If you don't do that, and the client comes back and the next time you have a conversation or you need them to do something, you say, well, I need you to do blah, blah, blah. And they're like, but you didn't. Why am I going to give you all of this when you've proven you're not going to put in you're expecting from others what you yourself are not willing to give. You're living in a place of hypocrisy. How does that work?
I think that's a fair point. And so that's where we bring those life lessons. And look, I had plenty of time where I did things and I wasn't all in. And the result that I got was not what I wanted.
You got what you put in.
That's a fair point. And so when we ask you, are you all in? This is us bringing to you some accountability. And what does that mean? We always ask the question, what does that look like? So we jotted down a few things to give you, to start to frame up for you what it looks like to be all in. And I would ask you to write some things down when it comes to what it means to you. You need to solidify that because ultimately that is going to be the set of values you establish when the going gets tough. And it's effectively your value system that will help you determine if you're all in. And you cannot be successful when you start off intentionally being dishonest. And so here's what it is. Graham Cook, this British minister, he had a great saying one time that really, really changed my life. And he said this. He said, God's not interested in what you cannot do. He's only interested in what you're willing to do. He can work with that. So that's why I start off here. That's why I talk to Jeannie. That's why we put on this podcast. That's why I talk to people when I coach them, when I talk to guys and coach them, is, are you willing? What is your level of willingness? Your commitment. Being all in requires a commitment. We talked about this earlier. Your intentions. Are they pure? Are they honest? Are they rooted in integrity? Your motivations. Are they self-seeking? Are they selfish? Or are those motivations pure? Are you committed to reconciliation? That's hard for some people. Because reconciliation requires vulnerability and it requires being willing to forgive.
And sometimes you don't realize it's you who needs to reconcile with yourself. That's a big one that people struggle with, myself included.
There's another piece of this that is being considerate. Are you willing to consider your spouse and how these things affect her?
So I'm going to speak on that one for a minute because we've had a lot of examples of this. We actually have one currently going on with one of our children. When you are making decisions and you're married, doesn't matter what when Quincy started making a choice about his health, I'm the one that does the grocery shopping. I'm the one that prepares meals. I'm the one that figures out where to go, what to get, those sorts of things. So if he makes a decision to change his meal plan and his diet and doesn't discuss it with me, did we shut off?
No, keep going. Okay.
Then I might not buy what he needs at the store. I might not have what he's looking for this plan that he's trying to do. If you don't communicate with me what you're doing, I don't know. Now, how is that being considerate of me? I stress over, what do I need to buy? What do I have to have in the house? I stress over making sure he has what he needs. It's part of my commitment to him is making sure that I have what he needs.
Mhm.
But if you don't discuss that with me and you don't tell me, who's going to get fussed at? Ultimately, it's going to be me, not because it's my fault, but because we didn't have a conversation and you're frustrated because we don't have what we need in the house. It's not at me. Don't get it twisted. It's not at me, but it is still a frustration. So what does that do? I internalize it.
Mhm.
You're frustrated. I didn't do something. I didn't know. Here's that silent expectation word. Please don't use it as a weapon. But it's one of those things that we didn't talk about. Again, he wants to go work out. I'm going to be gone 2 extra hours a day. If he didn't tell me that and he just went to the gym after work, he'd have hell to pay when he got home. Because why are you not home on time? Now imagine what that would do to my headspace, not knowing you were going somewhere after work and you're not at work and you're not at home. And we were in the middle of dealing with some issues in our marriage. That could have gone sideways real fast. That could have created internal dialogue that I don't need.
Yeah. And I want to read this because when you are considerate, if you don't naturally consider other people, I don't know, it doesn't come natural to everybody. And some people over-consider other people because they're people pleasers, like the guy you're looking at on the camera who's speaking right now. And so it needs to be healthy consideration. But in my opinion, it needs to be intentional. Will you be intentional about considering me? And this is what it means. I just want to define this for you. It says being considerate means being thoughtful of others' feelings, needs, and circumstances by treating them with kindness, with respect, and with helpfulness. It involves being mindful. Very important right there. Being mindful of your spouse. Being mindful of how your actions affect other people and acting in a way that avoids inconvenience or harm. Now, that can go too far. But it's important, especially when you are reconciling your relationship, to be considerate of how it is going to affect your spouse. You're never going to avoid inconveniencing someone in your life all the time. You're not going to. But I do like this part of the definition. It's a way of thinking about other people and then behaving in a decent and respectful manner. Being thoughtful, being mindful, being considerate. I don't have the caveat that I'm going to do everything I can to avoid inconveniencing you. But I am going to consider you when I make decisions.
Or at least have a conversation. Considering somebody means I'm willing to have a discussion with you to let you know this is what I'm thinking about. I can give you 2 other examples. One, we have one of our girls is dating and a decision has been made. The boyfriend wants to go to college, and it just came out in a conversation of, I've made this decision. Okay. College is a big decision. It's a long distance from here. There was no discussion of what that means for her. There's no discussion on, are we going to continue dating through this? There was no discussion. It was just, this is what I'm going to do. Now for her, she immediately went to, are we going to break up? Like, I can't drive to see you every weekend. I don't want to only see you on holidays. That's not the relationship that we've built. All of these things. And I'm not picking on him. They are very young. And this is a part of learning how to be in a relationship. And this is one of the things that we've talked to her about. And she's now opening these conversations with him of, she asked him, did you consider me? Did you consider how I would feel about this decision? Why didn't you ask me or tell me, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. What are your thoughts? At least put it on the table and let me have a conversation with you, because there are options that maybe could happen. Maybe I move closer to where you're going to school, or maybe you go to school closer to home for a little while and then we move later when we progress the relationship. There's options to discuss, but the discussion never took place. It was just, I have decided. Not a great place to start. But the other example I can give, and the difference here, there is a caveat. Quincy and I have been doing this for years. So Quincy has the permission, and I have the understanding that he is allowed to call me on my crap. He is allowed to buzzword me. He is allowed to call me on something that is out of character or that I have committed to and I am not staying true to. He has that permission. If you are just starting this journey and y'all haven't had that conversation yet, this is what it looks like, but you're not ready to go there yet.
Yeah, don't apply something that you are not practiced in and you haven't agreed to.
But when we go out of town to visit family, I used to not have intercourse at all when we were in someone else's home or we were visiting other people. Before the last time, we had a conversation and Quincy had explained, we're going to be there for X amount of days. Our normal routine, TMI, but it's our normal routine, is 3 to 4 times a week we have sex. And we have an agreement that if we're not going to do that and we're going somewhere and we're not going to do that, it needs to be discussed prior. That way, neither one of us is left hanging, expecting something that is just never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's hurt feelings, there's frustration. This last time that we went on the trip, I didn't make the conscious thought to say, oh, hey, I'm not going to do this time. Or, oh, hey, let's make this plan to go stay at a hotel or whatever. I was in the moment of being with the people we were with and what was going on there. And I didn't think about it. Not because I'm being an a-hole. I just didn't honestly think about it. My mind was on the future that was coming and the things that needed to be handled and what that was going to look like. And I just let it fall to the wayside. Well, in doing that, I took something that is very intentional and important to Quincy and I, specifically to him in that moment, and I ignored it. So in one of our drives and one of our check-ins, it was, hey, I got some heartburn that we need to talk about. Now, I know when he says heartburn, we have a problem. Not explosive, but definitely enough that he's been sitting on it for a few days. And so we had the conversations like, you didn't consider me. You just said you didn't even think about it, which means you did not consider me. And it took me a minute to go, well, shit, I didn't. It wasn't intentional. I am one of those people he's talking about that doesn't always consider the other person. Not because I'm an a-hole and I don't want to. I genuinely just have 1,000 things running and I don't always catch the obvious. I just don't. But it's not intentional. But he had the permission to tell me, okay, you committed to this and you didn't hold the commitment. So what are we doing moving forward? Because you already blew it and said you would and didn't. So how do we fix this for the next time? And so we had to have a conversation and decide what our rules are. Mm-hmm. How do we conduct this moving forward? This is what it means when you actually actively are all in and you put your intentions into your marriage and what it looks like and making it better. This is what it looks like. Mm-hmm. This is the outcome of what it is you can say, look, dude, you screwed up and you hurt me on this and I need you to know about this. But now I need you to tell me, how do we move forward? Mm-hmm. What do we do differently? When we got back from Hawaii, what do we do differently? Because we both hurt each other not realizing what the other one was doing. But we also didn't speak up about it. Mm-hmm. We weren't being considerate of the other person. We were thinking about how we were being affected in the situation. That's why consideration is so important. You don't always know until you ask and you consider, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I was feeling in the moment. What are your thoughts? Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's so simple. And it can be one of the dumbest things that people just don't think of.
Yeah. At the root of it, like it's about being mindful mm-hmm. of the people that you care about. And it goes a long way because there was a trip where I think we had decided it may or may not happen. And I knew what we were there. It was a particular time. It was like, I myself am not even going to put any expectations on this because we're here for another purpose where we were traveling. And Jeannie was like, hey, I want you to know this is happening tonight. And I was like, really? You thought about me and this, and you're going to do something for me? And it was like, it rocked my world. Mm-hmm. It blew me away. It put me on cloud 9. I mean, just to know that you're being mindful about it and you are being intentional about the promise that you made. That goes a long, long, long way. Mm-hmm. So that's the short list. The final piece of that is what I'm going to do my best to continue to impress upon you in each of these episodes, which is something that helped me greatly. Focus on what you can affect. What is it, honey?
Oh, attitude, actions, intention.
You said the same thing last time.
I know.
It's your attitude, your effort, and your actions.
No, see, last time I said attitude and effort and I forgot actions. This time I forgot effort and said intention. See, I'm getting it. I'm just twisting them.
That's okay, because you actually, you know what? I'm gonna make a play on that, and I'm going to include your intentions. And I think that's a great upgrade. So lock it in. There are 4 things that you focus on what you can affect, because you can affect your intentions.
Now, looking at this whole list, there's one thing I want to make sure that you, the listener, completely understand. As you're moving through all of these different episodes and the different challenges that we're giving you, the different questions, understand that now that you know these things, you've been made aware.
Mm-hmm.
You can no longer say or lean on the excuse, you didn't know, you didn't see, you didn't think. No, you are aware of your patterns.
Mm-hmm.
You are now aware that your actions, you're choosing them. Your intentions, you are choosing them.
Mm-hmm.
These efforts, you choose how much you put in. If you are all in or not, you are aware
Mm-hmm.
of the decisions you're making. So you no longer have the excuse to say, I didn't know. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. So when you actively choose to not do the things that you have said you would do, understand the weight that that carries is on your shoulders and nobody else's. You have to own that.
You do. And I've always coached myself with a saying. For whatever reason, it just works for me. And, obviously, focus on what you can affect. That would help me as I'm bringing my emotional control, as I'm maturing it. And the other thing, when it came to intention, which I felt like the Lord was teaching me, and I would speak about it often, was to live on purpose for a purpose. And that, like Coach Rita, one time when I was preaching at church, she was like, can you help me understand what that means? I said, yeah, I sure can. If you live on purpose, that means you are living a life of intention. And so you are doing things intentionally. And when you live for a purpose, it is to live to that higher calling that God created for you, who he created you to be. So now you make decisions, and it's not, and I always give the caveat, it's not about being perfect, but it is about living a lifestyle of excellence, which is achievable. So your intentions matter. And my thought is if you're not doing something on purpose, then you're intentionally not doing it.
See, mine with Rita was always focused on what's true. Because it was always, who said that? Who said you can't do? But it was also, if we did have this conversation about whether or not we were all in and what percentage we were giving. And she just asked me, so what's the truth? And that one will write you real fast, because she knows. You joke around with the kids. I always tease them. I don't ask you a question I don't know the answer to. So if I caught you doing something and I'm asking you about it, you should know by now. I already know what you did. Same thing there. She was like, so what's the truth? Are you all in? Are you really doing everything you said you would do?
Mm-hmm.
Am I? That's on me. It's not on anybody else. But it also flips to, when you and I would have an issue, or it would be, well, you have a pattern of, or you always, have I been doing that lately?
Mm-hmm.
So what's true?
Mm-hmm.
You can accuse me and be mad at me for past behaviors. And while we're going through the process, I understand that. I'm going to have grace for that because I created that pattern. I did that. But for myself to keep moving forward and keep my momentum, I have to remind myself, but what's true now? You may not see it, but I know what I'm doing and what kind of pattern I'm trying to create. I know what my intentions were.
Yeah.
I know what my thought process was. I know what my work effort is. I know where I was to where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And though you and other people may not see it yet, I know I'm changing. I'm being honest with myself. I am doing this for myself. the way that I said I would do it. And no matter what the outside voices are, because they're going to come. And like I said, it will probably be your spouse will probably be the loudest one because they're the one you have the pattern with. I had to remind myself, I tattooed it on my skin. Focus on what's true. Focus on what's real. Is what that person's saying true? No. Do I need to rebut it? No. No. It's like you teach your kids when somebody says they're stupid. Are you stupid? No. Then ignore it. It's not the truth. Ignore it. Let it slide. Give it grace. When the time comes, they'll see. But for me, myself, to continue my momentum, I had to trust what's true. But the caveat to that is, what is true? Are you really doing what you said you would do? Only you know that.
And that's where we'll wrap, because in this situation, and in the second session we were in, I heard some things that made me question, that highly concerned me if this particular Jack was all in. And that's why I went back to ask. And sadly, but thankfully, the answer was, I can't say that I am. And so at that point, I had a decision to make. And I had to represent my standard and my integrity. And it may seem cold-hearted, but ultimately, my standard is what I have to live by. And so I thanked him for being honest. And I thank both of them for their time. And I said, but knowing that this is the situation, and the caveat for us to do this was to be all in, I'm out. And I have to stop this right now. And I did. And I had to close the session out and let it be what it was. And like I say, that may seem cold-hearted, but there is something that you need to represent, and you need to represent yourself authentically. Jeannie and I talked about it afterwards, and she agreed that was the right decision. Because I was told one thing, but then I had to look at what was true. And it's best that we know and we operate what the truth is.
Well, look at it this way. We both love sports. You're coaching. You've got 2 quarterbacks. This one shows up, puts in the effort, puts in the time, stays extra, works with the team, tries to encourage and motivate the other guys. He is really putting it in. The second guy comes in and he does just enough. He shows up for practice. He gets his passes in. He gets his exercise in. He does his workouts, and he goes home. Which one, as a coach, are you looking at as the better value for the team? The one who just shows up and does enough, or the one who puts in the extra and goes the mile to bring the others with them? Which one is worth it? Which one, not to say either one isn't worth it, but which one brings more value to your team? It's the same thing for us. If you're not going to put everything in and you're just going to show up and do enough, then why am I expected to put in the extra time? Because coaching for us isn't just getting on a phone call and having a conversation. There's prayer involved. There's preparation and conversation involved. There are things that we do to prepare for that session. So it's not just you're wasting my hour or 2 for the coaching session. There's other time that's invested in this on our side. So it's not just as simple as, oh, well, they just stopped therapy. No, I'm taking time away from our family or my sleep schedule to pray for you, or I'm taking time away from our date night to have a conversation about your marriage instead of ours. Those things are valuable to us. That stuff is more important to us than getting paid. Those things are permanent for us. So for us to set those things aside and to add you to the things that are important to us, I think it's fair to ask somebody to put in the full effort.
Well, yeah. And how is it supposed to work if I'm all in and you're not? It's not going to work. And so,
you can't teach somebody who's not willing to actually learn the lesson.
It was not easy for me to do that, but it was easy for me to do that because I have to live my standard. I have to be a man of my word. And that is where, no disrespect to the Jack, I really appreciate the honesty because that allowed me not to invest my time in something where two people are not all in. So it was unnecessary for me to continue. And we do need to live with the consequences of our actions, and so that's where it is. Will it always be that way? I don't know. But for now, it is that way. And that's why we bring this episode to you with the first 4 episodes that are wrapped. We put it all together for you. We put it all out on the table. We give you very practical things to do to challenge you.
But now we're getting ready to do real work.
That's where it is.
So you have to make the decision. Are you all in or not? Because from here on out, it's gonna challenge you. It's gonna get hard in some places. Some things might be easier for others, but this is, if you're not all in, you're gonna struggle even more, because you're gonna have to repeat things that, if you would just surrender to it and put the full effort into it, you can get it on the first run.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, one thing that is very, very hard to get over, if you ever get over it, is regret. And you don't want to find yourself in a place where you regret not going all in, because it could cost you everything. It doesn't mean you can't earn it back in many cases, but look at all the time that you can never get back. So you might as well make the decision, are you all in or not? And if you're not, you need to reevaluate what you're putting your time into. The beauty is that it is a choice that you can make, whether you feel like being all in or not. That's part of controlling your emotions, is not allowing your feelings to dictate what you do. That is developing your process. That is understanding that the ripple effect is at stake. So either choice you make has the potential, or will make...
It's going to determine where the ripple goes.
That's true.
It's the truth. It's going to determine where the ripple goes. If you stay the same, the ripple effect is not going to be very impactful. Not in a good way. It's just going to kind of float around. But if you make the adjustment and you actually make an impact, how much further? I mean, think about skipping rocks. You skip a certain size rock, a little rock goes little ways. But if you can take one that's got a little bit of weight to it and you fling it just right, that sucker can skim. And it can make several ripples on its way out. If you get one that's heavy and it's just full of junk and regret and garbage, and you never really considered it, and you try to throw it, it goes bunk, and it has one ripple. That's it. It just goes one. But that one that you got that's got just the right balance, and you chuck it, that damn thing can fly 4, 5, 6 ripples. How many generations is that? How many people in your sphere of people will that affect?
And that's a very meaningful question to ask. Because you yourself have the ability to move, to redirect, like it said in A Knight's Tale, to change your stars. Very, very meaningful.
I want to be like Grandpa's rock. I want to impact at least 4 or 5 ripples down the road.
It's possible.
He did it.
It's possible. He did.
He did it.
He did.
And thanks to our kids, he's going to affect a few more.
That's right. And our actions do the same. So that's our challenge for you today. That's the question. Are you all in? It's a question that you have to answer. You, sir. You, ma'am. And that's where we're going to leave it. Well, that's it for now for Jeannie Moran. My name is Quincy Moran, and this is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast.